thing I want to do is thank you all for coming on the 5th Sunday. That's why I'm here, because every once in a while there's 5 Sundays, and sometimes they ask me to do this. But normally I'm here the 2nd Sunday of the month, every other month. It's best to just check the meetup for when I'm here. And they list me as spiritual development. And I love that, because my whole life I've tried to be a teacher. I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and they will all tell you the big game when I was babysitting was school. And I was the teacher, and they... So it's something that I really, really love. And I feel that my job as a teacher is not to be a persuader. You know, one time, I had a client of mine one time send me an email that said, "I think you are the finest example of teacher in the true sense of the word that I know." That was the nicest compliment I ever got. Because my job as a life coach and as a spiritual teacher is not to give you answers. It's to ask you questions so that you can find your own answers. I hate teachers who don't like questions. So my questions for you today are all about conscious choice. That's the theme for this month, and I actually spoke about it earlier in the month, and I get to revisit it today. And there's 2 things here. There's being conscious, and there's being at choice. So what does it mean to make a conscious choice? Well, I also am a member of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and we spent 2 hours down in the basement room last week talking about what it means to be conscious. And for me, I realized that being conscious means being present. You can't make a conscious choice if you're not here. You have to be dealing with what is. In this space, making a choice about what's happening right now. The interesting thing I discovered when I thought about that was so many of us make choices by default. You know, how many of you actually think about when you get up in the morning, I'm going to use toothpaste to brush my teeth? And what kind of toothpaste am I going to use? Or I'm going to have breakfast cereal. What kind of cereal? And why am I having that kind of cereal? And why am I brushing my teeth? You know, we'd go crazy. You know. Those things are done by default, and they're automatic. But there are other things that we don't even realize we do by default, where we're at a place of choice, but we're not making a choice. And what's happening right now in the universal energy, and I say that because I do work with people all over the world, and when you hear people in Canada and people in the UK and people in Mexico all saying the same thing, then you begin to think, aha, there's a universal theme here. And the universal theme right now is, I'm in my life, but it's not. It was okay a year ago, and it's not okay now. And as my source essence said to a client the other night during a reading, she said, basically what you're saying is, it's not bad enough to leave, but it's not good enough to stay. And I think that might land for some of you people right now, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your job, whether it's where you live, whether it's your friends, whether it's you, you know. I have a friend who came to see me the other day and said, I don't know what it is, but I'm not good enough anymore, and I don't know what's wrong. The other underlying piece of that for most people is boredom. They come to the place where they say, I'm bored. Now, this friend of mine has a job she loves. She's been in the job for 10 years, totally loves it, and all of a sudden, it's just something's not right anymore. That's a hard place to be. I went through that from the beginning of the year. Some of you may have in the past received my newsletter, and all of a sudden it went away. And I went through that place of, I don't want to do this anymore. I love it. I love doing it. I get a lot of feedback that has an impact, and it was work. And my firm guiding principle is to avoid work whenever possible. You know, Essence, one of my favorite Essence stories is the woman I did a reading for, and she said, I want to know what kind of work I should look for. And Essence's response was, we won't support that dysfunctional thinking. And I, of course, am like, my consciousness is over here, and I'm going, what the hell do you mean? The woman wants to know, you know. And she said, if you look for work, you'll find it. Why would you look for work? Follow your joy. And it just changed my life. Because the concept of here you are at a place where you're going to change jobs, and you're looking for work, look for something that's going to be better than what you left, you know. And that's a place of conscious choice, because the default in that place is, I got to get a job, and I've got to make some money, and I have to feed myself. Which brings me back to another of my favorite Essence messages, which was about the Israelites wandering in the desert, getting manna every morning. And by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it was like, okay, so is that going to be there tomorrow? You know, and I have often said that as a kid in Catholic school, when I read that, I thought, I was so pompous. I was such a pompous ass at 12. And I was like, they didn't even trust, and here they were getting this manna every day, you know. When I grew up a little bit, I realized that it's not always easy to hang on to that blind faith and trust. And another thing Essence pointed out was that faith and trust are interchangeable. If you don't believe in something, you can't trust it. If you don't trust it, you can't believe in it. So you have these Israelites that are getting manna every morning, and every afternoon they're going, do you think it'll be here tomorrow? And the end of the story is that why did they wander 40 years? It's because for 39 years, 364 days, they asked, is it going to be there tomorrow? And on that last day, they said, oh, let's just get a good night's sleep. It's going to be there tomorrow. And when they woke up the next day, they were in the Promised Land. Essence's point was they were in the Promised Land the whole time. Her message for us has been, you think you were kicked out of the garden, but that, you know, God didn't kick you out of any garden. You judged yourself and said, I'm not good enough to be here, so you can't see it. You're still there. You just have to choose to believe it. To think about it and make a conscious choice that goes something like, God is love, God loves me, I'm part of that, He don't treat you like garbage, and so there must be everything I need must be here. Another way to figure that out is there's the one thing that you need more than anything else that you can't live without. It's not food, not love, not water, not money, air. Air. And yet every one of you goes through the whole day breathing in and breathing out and never once thinking, oh my gosh, I wonder if I'm going to run out today. It's the one thing you can't survive without, and it's provided for you in such abundance that you don't even question it. And I love it in the reading, she said, nobody blames you for just breathing up all that air. Nobody makes you feel guilty. The other part of that is you can't just breathe in. You have to breathe out. You can't take it in and hold on to it. You take it in, when you've used it, you let it go, and there's more. That's such a perfect example of how we are provided for. And the reason it works is because it's automatic. We don't stop and think about it. If you had to stop and think about breathing every time you took a breath and decide that it was an okay and you were going to have it, there'd be few of you here today. So there's places where we automatically default. We default to, yeah, I can breathe, easy, nothing to it, don't even have to think about it. But when you expand that to, am I going to be able to survive? Am I going to be able to take care of myself? Am I going to be all right? We can just go off in all kinds of places. Many of you have heard me say we have a family motto in my family. It's everything's going to be all right, we just don't know what all right looks like yet. And it has served me very well. When one of my sons became terminally ill at age 11, I did not know what was going to happen. And this isn't, I'm not like saying this from an ego place, oh, I was so good or was so, it was so overwhelmingly bad that I didn't have any choice except to say, okay. Because clearly I couldn't fix it. I am at heart a controlling bitch, I'll tell you that. And all of a sudden, this awful thing had happened that I couldn't fix. I couldn't even make it better. And at that point, I had to let go of being attached to the outcome, because the outcome as it was given to me was so bad, I couldn't even go there. I mean, I sat down with the doctor and I said, I want to know what's going to happen. And they told me, the death certificate will say pneumonia, because he has trouble with his lungs and he won't breathe, and then he's going to go. I mean, they gave me chapter and verse. They said, don't hope. There's nothing to hope for. Don't hope. Now, when they tell you that, you're left with the clear knowing that it's not in your hands. And my place to go was, okay, I can't do anything about it, so trust me, it wasn't until when all else failed, I finally turned it over and said, I can't do anything about this. And all I want is that you help me understand why this is happening. And my son is now 51 years old. He comes every Sunday with me. And we had what the doctors referred to as a miracle. I think it's because I took my hands off the wheel, you know. We are so accustomed to believing that, you know, we're taught to be independent. We're taught to take charge. You know, we're taught you create your own reality. And we do. Until we get to the place where it's, what now? And this is a place right now that so many of us are having difficulty with. I don't know what I want. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's going to make me feel better. Trust me, I went through this from January through not too long ago. And finally, I said to David, you know what? Something is shifting and changing. I know it. Essence had said, this is a new operating system. Almost all of you have heard me say that before. It's not an upgrade to a program. It's a new operating system, and that means the old programs don't work. I am, in many cases, an early adopter. I spent 30 years in the graphics industry, so every new program that came out, I had to learn. I don't like that anymore. I'm old. I'm out of that business. You know, it's like, oh, another new program, whoopee. You know, but a whole new operating system, that's hell on a stick as far as I'm concerned. So the old programs don't work. The way we used to make decisions doesn't work. The things that used to be automatic our defaults don't work anymore. We have to stop and think about who we are. It's really about conscious choice being forced upon us by this energy to choose who we're going to be going forward. For many of us, it's a dream that's been set aside. For David and I, it was there's this someday dream we're going to do this. And all of a sudden, it was like, well, why not do it now? I have friends who all of a sudden are saying, oh my gosh, I had forgotten how much I wanted to blank. And now they're doing it. But just be aware. I mean, this is just giving you an overview of what's going on in a lot of lives. And if it's not touching you, it probably will, or someone you know, where there's this dissatisfaction of the status quo, but there's no real understanding of where you want to go to. What's next? You know, if you talk to 10 people on the street now and say, what's next in your life? The answer you'll get is, oh my God, I don't know. I just know that something. So when I got to that place, I just finally had to say once again, I can't control this. I've tried everything. I've tried figuring it out. You know, I tried doing this, doing that, and nothing worked. And finally, I just stepped back and said, this is huge energy working in the world right now. Everything is shifting, everything is changing. Look at how there's this upheaval in all of this. And I want to run in and change it and make it better. And the fact is, I don't know how. So what I did was consciously choose to just say yes. Those of you who know me, you can't know me more than probably 4 hours without hearing me say, the answer to how is yes. Essence says, don't ask for what you want, don't worry about how you're going to get it. The answer to how is yes. You say yes to it and you let the universe provide it. So I said yes to this empty space. I told my son, I said, I know something's happening. I know things are going to be different, and I don't have a clue what it is. So all I can do is create a space in my life for that. Whatever it is, the universe is bringing something. The universe, God, love, the all, the is, whatever name you give to that love that creates and holds together the universe, is bringing something new. And I'm not equipped or prepared or able to figure out what it is. So my conscious choice was to say, yes, I'm open to this. Whatever it is you're trying to do in my life, I'm open to it. I do have the, evidence that it works. And it was only a very short time before there was just this amazing shift. My sister, and I say this in all sincerity because if you've come from a big family, you have one. My sister, that we always called the dumb one, was sitting having coffee and donuts with David and I. And she said, you know, I've heard you guys talk a lot about going to Italy to die, to like retire there in the last 5 years and die. She said, why don't you go to Italy to live? And the moment she said that, it was like, it just opened up. And I looked at David and I said, why not? Why don't we? We have to make some changes. There's life changes are happening for both of us, and there's reasons that things have to change, and probably a move and all this. And I said, why don't we go to Italy? And as he said afterwards, I now know what flabbergasted looks like, because he never thought I'd ever say that. But it was so amazing, and so it was just like, of course. It was like, of course, this was our dream for 8 years, and we're in a position to where we could seriously think about doing that. So I immediately said, yes, let's do that. Now, that's been about 4 weeks ago. Are we going to Italy? I don't know. We might. But what's happened since then is all of these things have come into our lives, some really supporting Italy, but all of them supporting the movement forward to something. And what I finally realized is it's not necessarily Italy. What we are asking for and saying yes to is the essence of Italy. What was it about Italy that we wanted? The simplicity, the healthy living, not having a car, community, just the sense of being retired. And what I've realized in these 4 weeks, as the universe has just given me one thing after another, it's just, I've just watched all this stuff happen, supporting that decision to make this shift and change. And what I realize is it doesn't have to be Italy. It's about my default is not just to sell my house and get something smaller, because I can't afford to live where I'm living anymore with David being sick. I can't do that, and we're going to have to make some changes. We made the decision, and then a realtor came in and told me my house was worth more than I thought it was. We went to disability, Social Security, and they said David's going to get 3 times more than I thought he was. He's listed his property in Wisconsin for sale and gotten really positive feedback on that. It's just, everything has become so much easier, and I'm just saying yes, and I'm still I'm saying yes to whatever is developing. It would have been really easy for me to say, wow, we're going to move to Italy, and I'm grabbing onto that, and I'm attached to that. I'm not. It's this whole experience. Making a conscious choice to just say yes, rather than thinking I have to choose what part of Italy I'm going to live in, or where I'm going to live in Italy, and how am I going to sell my house. I've just stepped back, and the universe is just like rolling the stuff in. That's not only available to me. There's nothing that special about me. I know that the reason those things happen to me is so I can tell you guys about it. That I can show you, say, see, if someone who is like so controlling that it's infinitely hard for me to let somebody else drive, I'm a first kid. I'm the oldest of 6. You're supposed to run everything. If I can step back and let the universe act in my life like that, you can too. Trust me, you can. So you're in this place where we're being asked to make conscious choices, and we just don't have anything to latch onto. Like I said, I'm a production person. I spent 30 years in the graphics industry saying to people, don't do design, I'm a production person. You tell me what you want and I'll make it for you. That's my thing. I know how to make it. I know how to make it happen. So when I'm in a place where I have to step back and just say I'm being asked to be the design department of my own life. And that's the other thing about conscious choice. We are so afraid to ask for what we want. As a life coach, I deal with people all the time who say to me, well, that's just the way it is. I just want to grab them by the throat and bang their head against the wall. I don't, because I'm a better coach than that. But I know what that feels like, that sense of I don't have any choice. I don't have any choice. Not making a choice is a choice, and you need to understand that. When I teach a group of coaching students when I'm doing a seminar or something, one of the first rules, the only rule, is that nobody gets to be wrong and that everybody has to participate. And I point out to them that if you're sitting in the back, leaning back against the wall like this, and you think you're not having an impact, oh, yes, you are. Because that energy is in the room. You are having an impact with every single person you meet. Think about the difference if you go through the checkout line and you smile at the cashier. If you pay attention, you can feel the energy shift. If you get a cashier that won't make eye contact with you, I have actually gotten down and gone, hi, are you having a good day? Because you have the opportunity to have an impact. You can make a conscious choice to change the energy. Tell them a joke, laugh with them. Wow, looks like it's really busy in here today. Hope you're going to get out of here soon and get out into the beautiful weather. Oh no, I got to work till 9 o'clock. Oh, gee, sorry about that. But, maybe it'll be, I hope everybody that comes through here is happy today. What does that cost you? Nothing. Nothing. And it's a conscious choice. One of my favorite stories about my dad, which you guys might have heard, some of you, is that back in the olden days when nobody locked their cars, mostly people didn't lock their cars. I grew up in a farming community, so they never locked their cars. Somebody might get in it and drive it and take it and bring it back. It was all neighbors. But in big parking lots, my dad always parked way out, and we would walk through the parking lot, and people would leave their lights on. Well, he was always opening car doors, and you would push it was like a pull thing. Oh, those of you who are over a certain age, and you would push that in and turn their lights off. He would always do that. That was like one of his things. And one day I said to him, these people are really lucky that you're doing that for them. And he was really funny. He said, well, that's one way to look at it. He said, I like to think how lucky I am that they gave me an opportunity to do something nice. Never forgot that. Not coming from the place of, I'm so benevolent, I'm turning off your lights, but thank you for giving me this opportunity to have a positive impact. It's a choice, people. It's a choice, how you look at it. You can choose to see the positive side. And I have to throw this out, because this is why I'm saying, if everybody was Mother Teresa, who would you take care of? Everybody. You take care of each other. It's a choice. You can go through the day choosing to be the Israelites for 39 years, saying, okay, we got this manna here, but it doesn't last, and we're out of luck till tomorrow morning, and we're going to have to depend on, I just talked about the fact that the Israelites in the desert only focused on the fact that they didn't have manna after like 10 o'clock in the morning. Because they were so distracted, worrying about, am I going to have anything to eat tomorrow? Okay, so how many of us, and I'm one of them, has ever spent a minute thinking, I don't know if I'm going to have anything to eat tomorrow. It's scary. Even those of us who have milk and bread and butter food still go into that place. I don't know how I'm going to feed myself tomorrow. It's such a great distracting question. Focusing on how am I going to take care of myself, instead of being in the moment and saying, right now I've got bread and milk in the refrigerator. And right now, this moment, which is the only moment you have, I'm okay. So I'm saying yes to this moment. And I'm saying yes to the fact that I believe I will be taken care of tomorrow. It works, it works, it works. When you are so distracted about worrying about something that might happen or is hanging, the phrase hanging over my head. Example. David and I went to the Social Security office to see about his disability. I heard every horror story you can imagine. It's going to take you hours. You're going to have to file 3 or 4 or 5, 7, 10 times. You need an attorney to do this for you. They aren't helpful at all. All that was in my mind as I drove into the parking lot on last Monday. And I sat there and I thought, I had a conscious choice to either go with that. And I said to David, my intention, David, for this is that it's going to be easy. We're going to get everything we need. We're going to find the right person to help us. And it's not going to be difficult. Now, you'll notice I didn't say anything about how much money he was going to get or anything. Just that the experience was going to be pleasant. We're going to get the right person, I said. The universe has an amazing sense of humor, because we walked in and there were 4 people. Only 4 other people besides us, total of 6 people in the whole place. All of the people in back are working, but as customers, there's only 6 of us. And there are numbers, windowed numbers up to 27. So we went up to the guy and said, we just want to make an appointment to talk about Social Security disability. And he said, well, if you want to make an appointment, you'll have to wait till October. But if you want to go in today, it'll take you about 5 minutes. And he said, nobody's here. I said, oh, well, maybe we'll do that. And so it was less than 5 minutes, and we're seated at this window. And I almost laughed in this woman's face, because she had on this really bright, sunny yellow sweater. She had a smile on her face, and she looked for all the world like the friendly librarian. There's the librarian that's very strict and very grumpy, and then there's the friendly librarian that wants to help you, and she's compassionate, and she'll show you where everything is, and, she was the friendly librarian. She answered all of our questions. Because there was nobody else there, the computers were running just like that. They got David's work history, they got all this stuff, she put all this stuff together, and she was absolutely compassionate, charming, wonderful professional. And I'm just sitting there with this big smile on my face as she's asking David all these questions. So she says, here's your work history, and blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm on Social Security. I collect Social Security, and I know that they take the last 5 years that you've worked. Well, taking David's last 5 years of employment, we figured he was going to get, a certain amount. But they don't. They take your whole work history if you're on disability. And he worked for 4 years for Northrop Aviation building the B-2 bomber. And then he worked for architectural firms and engineering firms, and it's only been the last 10 years that he followed his dream and works in a bookstore as a bookseller. So she gave us a figure that was really 3 times what we thought he would get. After we left, David said, I want to thank you, Mom, for, when she told us how much we were going to, you didn't go, woo! If I had not been so stunned, I probably would have. I sat there, and she answered, she says, it'll be, like 3 to 5. She gave us every reason to believe that this would be approved, that we probably wouldn't have to go through all of the rigmarole that other people had told us we would. And we may still. There may still be other stuff we have to do. But that day, that moment, because I had said yes to where we are and yes to the experience and no to going in there with my mind set on dread and, I'm sure the angry librarian was there. And we could have had that one if that's what I had asked for in my energy set. And then the last thing she said when we left is she said, I want to congratulate you, Mom. And I said, like, why? She said, you let David do the interview. You let him handle this. You didn't, She said, I have mothers in here all the time that are answering all the questions, and they're treating their kid like they're, mentally incompetent rather than having some sort of physical issue. And she said, I just think you guys have a really good working relationship. That was the cherry on top, because I have heard nothing since a lot of this started except, you guys are codependent, you should we have a fabulous working relationship and that I told David, I said, we should go to Italy. Everybody lives with their mother in Italy. We won't even be out of place. But there were so many opportunities to conjure up, and because I'm a controlling freak, I'm a recovering controlling bitch. That's how I'm going to put it now. I'm a recovering, just like I'm a recovering Catholic, I'm a recovering controlling freak. I actually did, in my mind, have all these pictures of how terrible it could be. That it could drag on for months. And, when you go down that, Brene Brown calls it the catastrophizing path. And it's true. And especially for those of us who are doers, who are first kids or suffer that first kid syndrome where you're responsible for everything, then you have the idea you have to be aware of all the things that could go wrong, and you have to make all of these, you have to figure out all this stuff. How am I going to protect from this? What'll I do if that? I can't tell you how many times I've driven down the road and thought, okay, so if I have a car accident here, where's the nearest place to? That's insane. I'm learning how much freer it is to just say, if I have a problem, it'll be all right. Because you are only living in this moment. If you're living in all the stuff that could happen, it's, And so just so that we were really aware that this was the universe taking care of us. I mean, it's strange enough, we get in there, there's nobody there, we get the perfect person, we're getting more money than we thought we would, and it's easy. We were out of there in 45 minutes. So I said to the woman, it's so quiet in here. And she kind of laughed, and she looked at me, and she said, it's senior day at the fair. Now, if that's not being taken care of, I don't know what is. The one day of the year. She said, we look forward to this every year. So I'm going to tell you, if you guys have to deal with Social Security, look up when is senior day at the fair and go then. But I said yes to having a positive experience, although all the information and everything I had heard said. And so I was there on the one day of the year that this would happen. I'm not magic. There's magic in my life. There's tragedy in my life too. There's difficulty in my life. It has not been an easy life. Essence is always saying, it's simple. That doesn't mean it's easy. It's simple. And this saying yes to whatever is there, especially when you don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on, but the universe is moving in my life, and I'm saying yes to whatever is wanting to be born here, because I trust that it's a positive thing. I'm consciously choosing to be in that positive place. I'm consciously choosing to focus on this moment. If the Israelites had every morning gotten up and said, woohoo, manna, look at that, and then gone about their day focusing on what are we going to do when we get to the promised land, and what could we do around here to make this desert a little nicer, There's all kinds of, the nomads survived there for centuries. But all they thought about was, sure hope there's manna tomorrow. It's a choice. People say it's a choice to be happy. I think it is. It's a choice to trust. It's a choice to believe that you are not just creating your own reality, but co-creating it with love, with God, with the universe. It's all the same. God is love, love is God. You're co-creating it with a loving energy. Why would you worry? Are there going to be days when everything is going to fall apart? Yeah. It's like one of those days when the bottom falls out of your grocery bag. You have an option. You can say, blankety, 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 blank, and that's when then it gets kicked under the car or somebody's honking at you to get out of the way. If you look at it and say, oh, well, okay, that's the time somebody comes up and says, here, let me help you. You do create it. You create it with your expectations. And if I had gone in there expecting to have the Wicked Witch of the West in the Social Security office, I'd probably still be sitting there. This energy is so powerful now. It supports you in that powerful choice. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Story People drawings, but there's one that I just love. It says it's easy, something to the effect that it's easy to trust that, all of this and that is going to be wonderful. But the really hard stuff is to get up every morning and say, I love the world. And that's what it amounts to get up every morning and say, I'm making a conscious choice to love myself, to love everybody I meet today, and to love every single situation I find myself in, because there is a gift in it for me. Even if it's just to make fun of me so that I can tell you guys a story that ends with a joke. You do choose. And more and more and more, those are powerful choices. And once you start it, you just have no idea where it's going to take you. So I just want to do a really short, quick meditation. I want you to just get centered in a really positive place. I want you to be in that understanding that you control your choices. That when you were a little kid, other people told you what was real. Now you get to choose. So I want you to feel that loving energy just flowing through your body, coming in through your crown chakra, down onto your shoulders, just releasing all the stress and all the tension in your shoulders, all the way down into your fingertips. And I want you to feel your fingertips and realize that there's so much light in your body that you can wave your hands and that light spreads from you out into the world. I want you to feel that light flowing into your chest so that you're breathing in light and your heart is beating light out and in, out and in. You're breathing in light, you're breathing out light. Light is flowing out through your arteries and back into your heart through your veins. You are light in action. Golden, loving light. And in that space, ask yourself, is there any place that I am not being this light? Is there any place in my life where I am choosing to see myself as something other than light? Allow that to come into your consciousness. Whatever that judgment is you have about yourself, whatever that space is where you feel you're being less than what you would like to be, just bring that into your body and allow the light that you are to embrace that. It's not about rejecting it. It's not about overcoming it. It's about loving it. It's about understanding that as a human being, you have those places. And anytime you want to, you can go into this place of understanding that you are light and you are love. And you can embrace those places. You can embrace those ideas. You can embrace those judgments you have about yourself. And accept that it's a part of how you see yourself, and allow yourself to love yourself, even and perhaps because of those places. You are light. You are a child of God, or whatever name you give to love. You are a piece of that. You can never be separated from it because it is all one. And you can always, always, always make a choice, no matter what the circumstance. If there's no choice how to fix it, no choice how to make it better, then your choice is just simply to say yes. Yes, I don't understand this, but yes, I know this is coming to me from a place of love. And love is setting this in my path. So if you want to come back into the room, still being that light being, because that's who you are. That's who you are. And as absolutely loving, confident, saying yes, love beings, now is where I'm going to ask you to make a contribution. And the first thing you think of when you think of a contribution to a community like this is financial. But I can tell you that I have been a member here for 3 years now, almost 3 years, Gary would know. And I have gotten so much more out of this than I have given. It would be impossible for me to give back to this church what it has given me, this spiritual community. And this is still a church. I still call this building a church. What's in the building is a spiritual community. So I ask you to think about, if you like what you feel here, if you like what you get here, whether it's my service or somebody else's service, think about becoming involved. Think about giving of your resources. That's not just money. That's your energy, that's your time. Even if you just wake up every morning and think about Lake Harriet and say yes, yes to Lake Harriet, it would be amazingly appreciated, and I know God would really like it. So I am going to, my intention, my choice, is that every single one of us is going to go off and have a fabulous day, which is going to lead into another fabulous day. And then pretty soon you're going to notice that these are fabulous days. And then you're going to start expecting fabulous days. And as Essence says, you don't always get what you want, but you always get what you accept. So, love flowing to the left. Love flowing to the right. Into a perfect circle. Aho. Thank you. Thank you, my dear.